The cattle were quiet. This was unusual. 900 longhorns on a bed ground near the Neches River in East Texas. Animals that normally shifted, lowed, and generally objected to the concept of sleep were standing motionless in the moonlight, their long horned heads all turned in the same direction, facing the pine woods to the east. Jesse Kidd sat his night horse and observed this phenomenon with the mild alarm of a man who knew that when 900 cattle all looked at the same thing, the thing was worth looking at. He was 24, lean as a leather strap, with a gift that his trail boss considered mildly disturbing. Jesse could whistle. Not whistle the way most men whistle. Tuneless, absent-minded, the idle noise of boredom. Jesse whistled the way a mockingbird sings, perfectly, with total tonal command, replicating any melody after a single hearing with a fidelity that suggested his vocal apparatus was connected to different wiring than other people's. If the story of a cowpoke's whistle that broke an ancient Caddo curse under a full moon fascinates you, subscribe now. What this melody unlocks will change everything you think about forbidden knowledge. The sound came from the east. Music, drums, voices, a rhythmic cadence that carried through the pine trees and across the river bottom with the clarity that night air gives to sound. Not white music, not hymns or fiddle tunes, something older, lower, rooted in the earth beneath the pines. Caddo music. The Caddo settlements were 4 miles east, and on full moon nights, their ceremonies carried across the Neches like whispered conversations between the land and the people who had lived on it longest.
The cattle heard it first. They always do. They feel vibrations in the ground before sound reaches human ears. 900 animals, all pointing east like compass needles. The music was doing something to the air. I could feel it, a pressure, a hum, like the moment before lightning strikes when the hair on your arm stands.
He followed the sound. This was irresponsible. Leaving 900 head on the bed ground without a rider was the kind of decision that got a man fired from a trail crew. But the music had a quality that overrode professional responsibility. A pull, a magnetic insistence, as though the melody itself had reached into Jesse's chest and attached a line and was reeling him toward the pines. The clearing opened after a quarter-mile of riding through old-growth pine. Moonlit, the full moon directly above, turning the clearing silver, and occupied. Approximately 20 Caddo women dancing in a circle around a central fire, their movements precise, synchronized, following a pattern that repeated with variations so subtle they registered more as feeling than as sight. In the circle's center, one woman danced alone, younger, faster, her movements carrying a quality the others did not. Urgency, as though the dance were not celebration but work. Hard, necessary, incomplete work. Jesse sat his horse at the tree line and watched. He had never seen a Caddo ceremony. He had never seen any native ceremony. He had, however, spent 24 years listening to every melody the frontier produced, and his mind, that unwired, extraordinary mind, was already recording the rhythm. The drum pattern, the vocal melody, the harmonic structure of something ancient. He whistled it back. Not immediately, not during the ceremony. Afterwards, riding the tree line back toward the herd, the melody locked in his head the way melodies always locked in his head. Complete, note-perfect, indelible. He whistled it to the cattle, to the stars, to the night air, refining the tone, adjusting the pitch, until the reproduction was flawless. The melody emerged from his lips, not as imitation, but as echo. The sound bouncing back from the pines, crossing the Neches, re-entering the clearing from a direction the original music had never come from. A human whistle, carrying frequencies that the human voice and drums could not produce. The high, pure overtones of air passing through shaped lips had precisely controlled pressure. In the clearing, Pale Star stopped dancing. Not because she was tired. She had been dancing for 3 hours and would have danced for 3 more. She stopped because the sound changed. The echo that returned from the western tree line carried the melody she had been dancing to, but added something. A harmonic overtone, a frequency her grandmother had spoken of, but no Caddo singer had produced in 4 generations.
Grandmother said the ceremony required 2 voices, the drum voice and the wind voice. The drum voice we have kept. The wind voice was lost. 3 generations of singers have tried to produce it. The frequency is too high, too pure. We can hear it in memory. We cannot make it. Someone in the forest is making it.
She did not run toward the sound. She resumed the dance, but differently. The urgency doubled. Her movements, already precise, became fractionally faster, more insistent, as though the added frequency had unlocked a gear in the ceremony's mechanism. The other women sensed the change. The drums adjusted, subtly, a fraction faster, matching Pale Star's acceleration. Jesse whistled on. He did not know he was participating in a ceremony. He did not know the melody was sacred. He did not know the harmonic overtone his whistle produced was the missing frequency, the wind voice that the Caddo ceremony required to complete its purpose. He whistled because the melody was beautiful, and his mind refused to let beautiful melodies pass unreproduced. The moon climbed, the clearing brightened. The sound, drums, singing, and the impossible whistle from the western pines converged into something that the air itself seemed to respond to. The temperature shifted. The pine needles trembled. Jesse's horse stopped walking and lowered its head. The posture of an animal sensing something that its rider's limited senses had not yet registered.
You whistled the wind voice. I danced the earth dance.
The full moon reached its zenith, directly above the clearing, its light falling straight down like white rain. The twist. Something shifted, not metaphorically, physically. The ground beneath the clearing hummed. The fire at the center flared without being fed. The air developed a texture, a thickness, a resistance, as though the molecules themselves were being rearranged by the convergence of drum voice, singing voice, and the eerie, perfect whistle that carried from the forest. Pale Star's dance reached its climax, a spinning, earthward motion that Jesse's untrained eye read as ecstasy, but was actually precision. The dance was a key, the whistle was a key, the full moon was a key. All 3 turning simultaneously in a lock that had been sealed for 4 generations. The curse broke. Not silently, not subtly, with a sound, a deep, resonant crack, like ice breaking on a winter lake, audible from a quarter mile. The ground beneath the clearing's central fire opened, a split approximately 3 feet long, running through the packed earth, and from the split emerged a column of warm, amber light that rose straight up into the full moon's glow and dissipated like smoke. Subscribe when a cowpoke's impossible whistle and a Caddo dancer's lifelong preparation collide under a full moon. The forbidden knowledge unleashed will rewrite everything about what music truly is. Jesse's horse reared. The cattle on the bed ground, a quarter mile west, stampeded. Not in panic, but in release, as though 900 animals exhaled simultaneously and needed to run. Jesse fought the horse, eyes fixed on the clearing, watching something he had no vocabulary for. 20 Caddo women standing in moonlight around a crack in the earth, their faces lit by amber light that had no source and no explanation, and was, nonetheless, perfectly real. The curse. Grandmother Hawk, the oldest woman in the Caddo settlement, would later explain it to Jesse, or explain what she chose to explain. 4 generations ago, a rival shaman from the Wichita Confederation had sealed the Caddo healer's power using a ceremony that bound the healing spirit beneath the earth. The breaking required a ceremony of equal precision: drum, dance, and the wind voice, a frequency too high for human singing. The Caddo had maintained the drum voice and the dance. They had lost the wind voice. Jesse's whistle, inhuman in its purity, otherworldly in its precision, had provided it.
We danced for 4 generations. We sang for 4 generations. The ceremony was incomplete. The wind voice was missing. Your whistler was not Caddo. He did not know what he was doing. He did it perfectly. The spirits do not require understanding. They require the correct frequency.
Both are right. Jesse's explanation, "I whistled a tune I heard, it's just a song," describes what he did. Grandmother Hawk's explanation, "The spirits sent a wind voice carrier to complete the ceremony," describes what it meant. The melody was both a song and a key. The whistle was both an idle reproduction and a sacred frequency. The curse broke because both things were true simultaneously. Dawn came to the Neches bottoms, pink and warm, burning off the river mist, restoring the clearing to its daylight identity. A circle of trampled grass in the pines, the central fire burned to embers, the crack in the earth already closing, sealing itself as though the ground were healing from a wound 4 generations old. Jesse gathered the scattered cattle, all 900, relocated approximately 2 miles south by the stampede, with the help of his trail partner Reuben, who had slept through the entire event and was unimpressed by Jesse's account.
You left 900 head to follow a melody into the woods, watched Indian women dance, whistled at the moon, and the ground cracked open and glowed amber. Jesse, I believe every word you said because you're too stupid to lie. I also believe you should never tell this story to anyone who can fire you.
Pale Star found Jesse at noon. She walked to his line camp on the Neches bank, crossing 4 miles of pine forest, the Caddo white boundary, and every social prohibition of both cultures, with the directness of a woman who had just experienced the most significant event of her life and intended to look at the cause. They stood on the riverbank. She was smaller than she'd appeared in the moonlight, perhaps 5 feet 4, with the lean build of a dancer and the grounded steadiness of someone who had just discovered her life's purpose. Jesse was taller, thinner, awkward in the particular way of young men confronting women whose presence makes ordinary language feel inadequate.
You whistled the wind voice. I danced the earth dance. Together we broke my people's curse. Do you understand what you did?
No, ma'am. I whistled a tune I heard. I'm told I have a gift for reproduction. I don't understand what happened in that clearing, and I'm not sure I need to. But I'd whistle it again if you needed me to.
Both are right. Jesse's gift, the physical capacity to produce frequencies that human voices and instruments cannot, was the mechanical component. Pale Star's lifelong training, the dance, the ceremony, the inherited knowledge of exactly when and how to move, was the spiritual component. Neither was sufficient alone. The curse required a wind voice and an earth dance, a cowpoke's whistle and a healer's steps. The collision of 2 traditions, 2 people, 2 explanations for the same event, producing a result that neither tradition alone could achieve. The ancient curse was lifted. Pale Star became the healer her grandmother had trained her to be, the first fully empowered Caddo healer in 4 generations. She treated burns, fevers, difficult births, the 100 ailments of a community surviving on diminishing land. The healing power that the curse had locked was now flowing, and the key that had unlocked it was a cowpoke's whistle on a full moon night. Jesse returned to the clearing on the next full moon. Not to whistle, the ceremony was complete. To sit beside Pale Star and watch the dancers and understand that he had participated in something he could not explain, and that the unexplained thing was more real than the cattle, the trail, and every measurable element of his daily life. Subscribe. There's more Ranchers' Honor stories where a single sound changed history. More frontier tales where the line between the natural and the supernatural dissolves under moonlight. And more Chronicles where two worlds colliding produced something neither could have built alone. Cowpoke whistled tune for Caddo dancer. Full moon exposed ancient curse lifted. The truth stands in the clearing between them. Lit by moonlight, sealed by sound, healed by the impossible convergence of a cowpoke's perfect pitch and a dancer's perfect preparation.